Thank you so much for playing this video. I want to talk about Nelson Mandela and his A Long Walk to Freedom. I have this book. I love this very wonderful political figure because he raised wonderful consciousness within the people of the humanity. Just people's colors should not be the judging factor for one's determination, respect, and position in the society and the state. So I want to have a very simple review of this very man and his book, Long Walk to Freedom. This book is considered as enthralling. Mandela emulates the few great political leaders such as Lincoln and Gandhi, who go beyond mere consensus and move out ahead of their followers to break new ground. This was written by Donald Oates in the Sunday Times. I want to actually go through the other parts over here written down, that are actually given down over here. The riveting memoirs of the outstanding moral and political leader of our time. Long Walk to Freedom brilliantly recreates the drama of the experiences that helped shape Nelson Mandela's destiny. Emotive, compelling, and uplifting, Long Walk to Freedom is the exhilarating story of an epic life, a story of hardship, resilience, and ultimate triumph, told with the clarity and eloquence of a born leader. So Karl Marx was a really socialist person, but his views about racial segregation in South Africa is one of the most revered in the human history. Another review will be by Andrea Brink. Burns with the luminosity of faith in the invincible nature of human hope and dignity. Unforgettable. It is the style so typical of the man which marks this marvelous book as a truly personal work. Superb, indispensable, unique life history, a truly stunning account of his extraordinary life, a vivid testimony to an unusual mixture of courage, persistence, tolerance, and forgiveness. One of the most extraordinary political tales of the 20th century, and well worth the investment of anyone truly interested in the genesis of greatness. Written down in the Financial Times. And another review was an epic of struggle and learning and growing. It tells a man whose idealism and who have inspired a world prone to cynicism. It should be compulsory reading. So these are the some of the reviewing sentences written down by some great writers in some specific newspapers and articles. I have gone through these books. There are actually some of the other things that I want to actually go through. The life of a man who has been a political activist for 50 years is one of the most difficult and complex conflicts of the 20th century, is a major achievement. The authentic voice of Mandela shines through this book, humane, dignified, and magnificently unembittered. The autobiography succeeds because the bishops Mandela has gone through in the course of his life are so dramatic that the reader cannot help responding to them as if to a fairy tale or more fable of some kind. No hero of legend ever went through such protracted trials in order to arrive at so improvable a victory. He was in the prison for 27 years. Can you imagine? I have the desire and hope and dream to write history of some great people of the history, political prisoners like Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the father of the nation of our country, Bangladesh, Nelson Mandela, and there are lots of other people like Antonio Gramsci. He was also in prison. Even the most hated person in the history, Adolf Hitler, he's also spent behind bars 5 years, and that life made him so much anti-Semitic or against the Jews. A work of literature as well as important document. I don't want to actually talk about it in that way, just because Karl Marx, I was talking about his lifetime. When he was in Robben Island, he spent under amounts of pressure because his wife Mandela, Winnie Mandela, and he had actually divorced with his wife just because the wife had extramarital kind of the girl was in relationship with another man, sort of things. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they had amounts of respect for each other. But what I want to actually focus on here is that the kind of difficulty he went through in the prison. Ahmed Kathrada should also be actually referred to, because there are thousands of people in the prison of South African anti South African racial regime back in those time. So in this world today, when you live in 21st century, there you have got hundreds of thousands of Palestinian liberation activists in their prisons of Palestine. You know, Jews suffered extensively in the Holocaust trials. The way these people also suffers in the hands of the white minority rule in the South Africa is also very much different. So, you know, whether it be discrimination against the Jews, discrimination against the Muslims, discrimination against the black people, white people, it every time should be condemned. Violence should always be condemned. Sometimes, you know, when you come to the philosophical questions, the extreme point will be considered as what I say correct. But, you know, at the end of the day, remember, sometimes it's not correct. Although, you know, to some extent I will be telling you that in most of the cases in your lifetime, you shouldn't be telling that this is the best way, that by having a very violent rhetoric, by killing rest of the other people in the society, you will be actually establishing your point of view of the society. You will be establishing capitalism, socialism, Zionism, Islamism, Christianism, Hinduism, any kind of ism. It should never be used by people through repression, but most of the time repression happens in our society today. So life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, freedom, these are the ultimate things. People who live in prison, they know the value of freedom. When you are isolated from your loved one, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your kids, siblings, relatives, your friends, you will be under amounts of suffering. You will be crying. You know, when you cry, you can show your tears, but when your heart cries, when your heart bleeds, you can show that you are bleeding inside. So when you are inside prison, you are bleeding. When your relatives are coming to meet you, you will be crying for them. You know, sometimes you will be showing that you are very okay, but you are not okay. You will be crying all the moments, because, you know, we're talking about most of the time food, health, accommodation, wonderful healthcare, wonderful things like this one. Most importantly, the basic needs of the humanity is freedom. If you do not have freedom, even if you are the president of the whole world, nothing will be, you know, in your mind. So even if you live in the paradise where your freedom is taken away, the paradise will not be something to be, you know, worthy of living inside. This man was there, and this man spent amounts of difficulties. Still there are thousands of people in the world who are suffering extensively just because their countries are looking for the freedom. But these freedom loving people must be revered. I don't want to tell that a freedom fighter is at the same time a terrorist and a liberation worker, or someone who is very much revered. At the same time, he is also hated or opposed by his opposing ideas and people. I am someone, a liberal democrat, a secular, and very, very personally religious Muslim youth from Bangladesh. I am a big fan of Nelson Mandela, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, big fan of Thomas Jefferson, Karl Marx, and all the big people in the society who had massive changes, massive influences in the human history. So that was my another effort to have a very common glossing over the life and times and the teachings of this great man, Nelson Mandela. Thank you so much for watching this one.